So, in today's video, I'll tell you everything you must know as a gatherer in Albion Online. I will cover variety of topics of the best gathering equipment, the best maps to gather in, how to find tier 7 and tier 8 resources faster, what are the spawn timers, and much more. All of these tips can be applied for a beginner or already tier 8 gatherer, so you could improve your knowledge and earn as much silver as you can. If you get any further questions after you have finished watching the video, feel free to comment in the comment section down below. And with that said, let's get right into it. Okay, so starting off, let's take a look at the gathering gear and all the abilities, bags, food, and much more. No matter what type of gatherer you are, you always want to buy the flat gathering gear set. I have seen players buying 0.1 or 0.2 because it takes a long time to go from tier 5 to tier 6 or even tier 7, and then I see players using 5.1 or 6.1 gathering gear just because it's cheap and they think that you'll get better cooldowns or extra damage, but no. All that better gathering gear does, it adds like 20 to 30 extra health, which you definitely don't need, nor is it worth the extra silver. What I personally like to do is gather in the cheapest gear I can find, so if I'm a tier 6 gatherer, I buy flat 6 gathering gear and then flat 5 bloodletter and 4.1 or flat 5 mist color. One of the biggest points for my survival is to appear to players that I am not worth the time or money that they will need to invest to kill me. A simple trick is to buy one of these appearance skins, which I chose a full skeleton gear, which in my opinion makes the gathering a bit more fun, and not all players will always inspect you, so by not appearing that you have a gathering gear, some players will leave you alone. But then buying a better weapon or an offhand only helps out a skinner, and then an extra silver is again not worth it. All gathering main objectives will be to gather as much as you can in the fastest amount of time while not getting killed, but if you do, then make it cheap so you can re-gear and continue making money. Even tier 8 max spec, max gear, best mount in the game gatherers can get killed, so it's definitely not recommended to use the best things that you got. So for example, I was bored, so I logged in on one of the prime times of the random zones I was in, and when I started gathering I found out the whole zone was empty. So I wanted to move to the next one, but for my surprise few seconds later I met a full 20 player arch group just killing random mobs super close to each other. So all that they had to do is hit me once and I was getting murdered no matter what gear or spells I had. So my biggest recommendations for any type of gatherer is to use their own gear tier. So for me, I'm a tier 6 skinner and I use tier 6 skinner set, one of the cheapest bloodletters and an offhand that I can find. As bloodletter, the weapon itself has the highest mobility in the game. This is the weapon that is recommended for any type of gatherer to use. And then as for offhands, you can try out different ones, but mist colors are super cheap and getting that plus 10 extra % reduced cooldowns can get useful in some cases. Okay, so with that said, let's move over to the spells. As I previously mentioned, no matter what you gather, always use the bloodletter and choose the deadly swipe, which is the second Q. Then for W, go with the dash, and passive, pick the deep cuts. And then for the gatherer's cap, aka helmet, pick cleanse. Personally, players like to use the beard chop or other spells, but they will put you in combat, and most of the gankers builds are made to stun players, so having that cleanse will be very good. Then for the garb, aka gathering armor, go with the ambush. With this build that I'm showing you, your objective is to disappear and for the gankers to lose you, so having this spell is super crucial. And then last but not the least, for boots, go with the Wanderlust. Every player uses Wanderlust for the boots, so I think there's no need for me to explain there anything. Then as far as the cape slot goes, I think it should be self-explanatory to go with the gathering backpack. And I personally like to use tier 6 bag. You will see that by buying better bags you won't get that much extra carrying capacity, so it's again not worth it. But then the big question is, what mount should you use? In my opinion, the best gathering mount is the wild boar. You will get relatively a lot of health, speed, and most importantly, carrying capacity. Yes, it's super expensive, but especially if you will gather as a solo player, like I do, it's super useful. I've even seen higher tier gatherers using more expensive mounts like the giant horse, which have abilities like another invisibility. But their carrying capacity is super low, so it's not worth it for the long run. And then lastly, food and potions to be self-explanatory, which are tier 8 invis potions, which each run you should have at least 2 to 3, and then tier 7 pies, which again, you can bring 4 to 5. Then let's go into a scenario on what you should do if you get ganked. So the main thing to know always when gathering is where in the map you are. How close are all the map exits and how populated is the zone. When I gather in the gameplay, you will see me opening my map a lot, so whenever I gather a tier 7 or something that takes long, I always stand in a circle and super close to the mount, facing the place I would run if I would get ganked while gathering. The main point and the main disadvantage as a solo player is that you don't have territories. And when you get ganked, you have to get to one of the exits. A lot of gankers will turn back, you will get bubble, or you can just run back to one of the portals, or lose the gankers on the way. If I get dismounted, my main focus is to press W, then E and keep on using the small dash cute ability. The main objective is to run away without hitting any players, so you won't get into combat. Then a bit later I use the cheapest piece invis ability to move on one of the directions, and then I pop the invis potion while still being invisible from the chest piece. This crucial 5 to 10 seconds of gankers not being able to see you and then making question themselves on which direction you went will give you that extra time to run away. Obviously after some attempts and more practice you will get better at escaping, so try these strategies out and depending on the situation improvise and adapt. Then as far as the actual gathering goes, gather whatever you see till you become a tier 7 gatherer, and after that you will most likely hunt just tier 7 and tier 8 nodes. And then you can just aim to stop gathering the flat resources and go for only point 1, point 2 and point 3. If you are a brand new player or just a beginner for gathering, then always stay in the same tier zone as you have unlocked your gathering gear. So if you're a tier 1 gatherer, stay in the tier 1 zone and move on till tier 6 gathering and tier 6 zone. Personally for solo players I recommend to stay in royal zones till tier 6, but if you are in a good guild or alliance, gather in black zones can be efficient as well. Then if you have few friends, gather after tier 6 in the roads of Avalon with 2 to 5 players together. But if you are solo, then stick in the main black zones. For roads of Avalon, gathering is super simple. Find a random portal in the red or black zones, enter together with a group of 3 to 5 players, which in my opinion is the best player amount, and then move around the roads to different portals till you find the icons with the wood, leather, cloth, stone or iron symbol. And go then kill the main mini bosses as a group, gather them and move to the next one. You don't really need to wait for the best timers, just move around and if everything is clear then keep on moving till you find a map with full resources. But then for a solo gatherer and everyone else it's a bit more complicated. Each zone has its own timer. From tier 3 to tier 6 resources have about 2 to 5 minute timer, so they get replenished a lot quicker than tier 7 and tier 8 materials, and that's why they are so rare and so hard to get. The best times to gather is at zone's prime time, which you can check each zone's time here, and after server reset almost all zones will be full of resources to gather, so these are the two best options, checking each map's zone timer and gathering after the server resets every single day. But of course remember that all the players know exactly the same thing that I'm telling you right now, and each player specifically chooses their own zones to live in depending on the timers, so you will get more tier 7 to tier 8 resources, but these zones will be filled with gatherers and gankers a lot more than per other times. I personally like to enjoy gathering in my off time to just relax, so what I do is I pick one of the black zones yellow portals and move around 2-3 zones from the portal, till I find the black zone chest. In that chest I put all my knives, bunch of pies and everything else I would need, and then just gather from there. So what I did here, I basically made the black zone chest my safe base, where whenever I'm full of my resources or when I need to run away from someone or just resupply my pies or skinner or gathering gear set, all that I need to do is go back to that zone and put all my stuff in that chest and everything will be safe till I grab it again. I don't care that much about gathering prime times, so what I do is I make one of these black zones my base and then I move few zones together whatever I see. If I see a tier 7 and tier 8 I get them as well, but I don't hunt because their respawn timers can go from 30 minutes to even 2-3 hours. So waiting or hunting them is pointless and you waste a lot of your time, which otherwise you could be earning a lot more silver. Every reset day the timer changes, so no one knows exactly when a tier 7 or tier 8 node will spawn, but if you are in a tier 7 or tier 8 zones, they will spawn, and most likely you will gather and find them by only luck. So what I recommend for beginners and even pro players for gathering is to gather in whatever time zones you want, and in the meantime, if you find a tier 7 and tier 8, get them as well, but don't specifically look for them. As well, there are a bunch of other small gathering tips and tricks that you can do, so if you want to make a part 2, let me know guys. And as a little sneak peek, here's one of these best life changes I ever did as a gatherer. So by going to the settings and pressing keybinds option, you can set here any button to auto run. So if your hand gets tired to hold the mouse 24/7 or you want to check the map while moving, so here you can set auto run to any button and thank me later. So by having all of this said, I really do appreciate everyone for watching guys, and I hope you enjoyed this video. If you have any further questions about gathering or Albion Online in general, feel free to let me know them in the comment section down below. If you found this video helpful, don't forget to leave a like, subscribe and enable that notification bell so you won't miss any more amazing top 10 lists, Albion tutorials, 1v1 corrupted dungeons montages and much more. With that said, have an amazing day and I'll see you guys in the next one. Take it easy, peace.
Yo, I ain't here for the money, I ain't here for the fame. Though it might be nice to own a jet plane, I'ma do it all for you. Come along.